All right, gentlemen, 4:15, I'm going to call the meeting to order. Please rise and join me with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call, Sam Martin, Ross Freeman, and Rick Morgan is here. We'll do a public input before we go into the red folder. So does anybody have anything you want to add or ask?
Yeah, I got kinds of questions.
Okay, go ahead.
What's my progress on the claim on my neighbor?
Well, let me get to the response that I've got, because there is one.
I've been informed I can do nothing about the dogs.
Right, you want me to answer your question, let me answer. We did, after your attendance at last week's meeting, we did have our code enforcement officer update us. And this is what he has followed up to us with. Currently, the building permit, which your neighbor has, is set to expire on July 31st, 2017, which is in a very few days. What's today? 24. So a week.
Believe me, I'm watching close.
He has spoken with her, and she is aware of it. And she's also aware that if the existing mobile home, which is on the concrete slab, is not hooked up to utilities, and the travel trailer is not disconnected from the utilities, then there will be a cease and desist order placed on that property, and which will require her to vacate the property. At this time, he says she is looking for contractors to do those installations. But the long and the short of it is, her building permit is set to expire, and she has been notified that if she has not complied with what is required, then she'll be issued a cease and desist in order to vacate. Okay? Next question.
I'll ask later. Another question.
Go ahead.
What is the town's policy on public works trucks being at the Circle K at 7:30 in the morning? Does they have a written policy they have to be there?
We do not have a written policy that they have to be there, and we certainly do not have a written policy that they can't be there.
Well, I understand that. But I understand they go to work at 7 in the morning? Highway department?
Depending on the day, correct?
Right, whatever.
Yep.
You've got the water and sewer and the highway confused. The water and sewer is white, the highway's red.
What kind of vehicle are you looking for?
I'm specifically talking about the water sewer truck.
Okay.
You know, it's formed today, they start at 7 in the morning, water sewer, whatever. I don't know. I'm assuming they don't start at 4 in the morning.
Not generally.
Okay, now if they start at 7, I can't really prove they were there. I could if I get the cameras from the store. But a lot of days they're going to eat breakfast at 7:30 in the morning.
Okay.
And, I mean, don't they have a routine they have to follow as far as hours go?
They do. They're a very small department. They're a two-man department. In many cases, and I guess you'd have to point to which particular day you were concerned about and what is the basis of your overall concern. They may well have been out since 5 o'clock. I don't know.
Is it a waste of money? That's my concern.
I would respectfully submit that I don't. I think that both of our employees at the water department do a good job, and they complete the tasks that we assign to them. They're under the supervision of the Public Works Director, and he hasn't conveyed any concerns to us about their time management, and I don't know that there are any.
Okay, I'll accept that.
Okay?
And there's a little shed at the dump. Okay, as you drive in on the left, very seldom do I see anybody in there. With the air conditioning running, the heater running, all that stuff. What is the shed there for?
It's not a shed.
Well, I'm just assuming it's a shed.
I'm trying to explain to you. That is the scale house. And when there are 3 people who are at the dump, generally speaking, you will find one of them there. If not, one of the other people at the facility have to go up to the scale house to weigh in vehicles which are in there to demolition material or our commercial haulers. That's where the weight is determined so that they know what they have to pay for a fee. So the quick answer is there will not always be somebody in that shed, but it is utilized every single day.
Seems like when it's not. Number 4, there was a woman selling ducks there Sunday. These little rubber things for whatever it is you people do. Now, she was quite elderly, 65, 75 years old. I don't know how she got there. I don't know who brought her, if she walked there. What if she had to go to the bathroom? Are they gonna make her drive all the way home?
First of all, the selling ducts is nothing that we do. It is, I believe, for the, I believe it's the Main Street project, which does a fundraiser every year, and it's a rubber ducky race. I didn't know that she necessarily sold them at the dump, but I'm not opposed that she does. She does it at several other places.
What if she has to use the facilities?
If I believe what you were answered last week was if there were an emergency, they would probably accommodate her. But in general terms, to answer the rest of the question is, I think the basis of your complaint is that the restroom is not open to the public, and you have asked that question and we have answered it. Okay?
And it's not.
Open to the public, or is it?
It's not.
It is not open to the public.
Okay. Number 5, when is this town going to come to the 21st century and start accepting debit and credit cards?
Well, some of us came into the 21st century kicking and screaming, and now I'm one of them. That being said, we have made advances in that regard. We now do accept in our tax collector's office both debit cards and credit cards. But that is not an easy thing to simply add.
It's only online right now. We're still working through the IT department to get the.
Correct, but it's not simply as easy as saying we accept it. There has to be the hardware updates and software updates to do that, and we have not.
I just have a couple more.
Okay.
Simple answers, all they require.
Okay.
I understand that all of you may have taken an oath to obey and honor the Constitution. Am I correct?
I will do that.
What's the Third Amendment?
You here to give us a government test?
I'm here to test everybody, everything in this town from now on. Believe me.
Next question.
You don't know, do you?
It's not whether or not I know, I'm not gonna be quizzed by somebody over what my responsibilities are.
Right.
I took an oath a whole lot of years ago when I raised it the first time for the United States Army. I don't need you to question whether or not I understand my responsibilities.
Well, in case you're interested, they can't put troops in personal houses in time of peace, okay? Where am I? Number 8. Why is this meeting always held at 4:15? Why can't it be 6:30, 7 o'clock at night when more people can attend?
It absolutely could be. And
Why
we
is
have, let me finish.
Okay.
We have in the past moved the meetings to later hours, and nobody else showed up. The reason that we do it at 4:15 is that our department heads can be here to answer questions when folks do want to ask them, and we're not paying them overtime to come back, or delaying the meeting, or delaying their answer for a week until we can ask them and they can come back. We have tried different times. We now have the luxury, I guess, of it being videotaped. People can watch it 24 hours a day and see what's going on. If they have a question, they can submit it to us in writing if they can't come to the meeting. Or if I speak for myself, I would absolutely not be opposed to meeting with somebody at a time that was convenient with them if they have an issue they do need to raise and can't be here.
So you will ask, did you go to my house, by the way, and take one?
I have not.
You said last week you would.
I told you last week that I will, and I will. I did not promise you that I would do so by Monday.
May not happen pretty soon, but
You need to understand, we all work too. I have a full-time job outside.
I know.
Okay,
I've been told.
all right,
Okay, that's it. I won't-
that's it.
Yep.
Okay, somebody else. If not, I'm gonna move on to the red folder.
Yeah, let's do that.
All right, we have the minutes of the Selectmen's meeting which occurred on Monday, July 17th. I make a motion, we accept them as printed. All in favor? Aye. We have the minutes of the Selectmen's Department Head meeting, which occurred on Monday, July 17th. I make a motion, we accept them as printed.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. We have here, it doesn't require our action, but there are the minutes of the Ossipee Economic Development Council meeting, which occurred on the 17th as well. We'll make that a part of our record. We have the check voucher totals. Payroll for week ending 7/22 was $35,029.89. Payroll taxes in the amount of $10,657.06. Accounts payable for week ending 7/15 was $63,051.88, for a total disbursed of $108,738.83. We're now also including on our check voucher totals the water and sewer, and the water and sewer accounts payable for week ending 7/15 was $9,775.97. I make a motion we sign.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Again, these are the check voucher totals. We review each and every bill that comes in individually and initially. We have a couple of documents. This one is from Steve McConaty, our zoning officer, who also is in charge of our government building repairs. In order to improve the air conditioning here in Town Hall, the first step is that they have to do a significant amount of electrical upgrades to handle the additional load. There were 3 companies that were given the opportunity to bid on the Town Hall electrical upgrades. All 3 companies are well qualified. The first was Christopher Olds at $6,155. The second was Dayab Electric at $6,150, and the third was E&E Electric at $5,300. Based on that, he recommends that E&E Electric, for the lowest bid of $5,300, be awarded the work. I make a motion that we approve it.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. By way of transparency, E&E Electric is owned by our town administrator's husband. Has no bearing on, he's a quality work, does quality work, he's a quality electrician, and he gave us the lowest bid. On the air conditioning itself, there were 3 companies that were given the opportunity to bid on the air conditioning for the town hall. The 3 companies to return with an estimate were Accutemp at $16,900, American Air Systems at $16,854, and Joy's HVAC at $19,462. The second, that was to install the complete system. The second option would be to install air conditioning in half the building this year. The electric upgrades, which we just approved, needed to be done. The town of Ossipee has used and is still using Accutemp for their reliability and quality service. It is not low bidder by $6, but he would still recommend that we use Accutemp, who has been our HVAC provider. I make a motion that we use accept the bid of Accutemp at $16,900.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
This is from memo from Brad Harriman. It's on the new meter installation for the water system. We had initially asked them to go back out and do additional quotes on the installation of the water meters to see if we couldn't get a better price. Received 3 quotes for the installation, one from New England Backflow at $125 per house. Mark Bishop Plumbing and Heating was $220 a house. And Advanced Standards Plumbing and Heating was $65 an hour plus $35 travel. Go ahead, Brad.
Yeah, in talking with Bo and going over these and stuff, we both strongly feel that New England Backflow would be the company to utilize, for the reasons being that the other 2 are plumbing and heating installers. I don't think they have a lot of experience in just going in and changing out meters and backflow preventers and stuff like that. And I believe being on an hourly rate like they want to do it on, if they ran into any type of issue or something like that, it could take much longer than they anticipated in there, and I think that the rate, the per unit installation would actually increase substantially on that. Whereas New England Backflow, that's their job, that's what they do for a living. They do, you know, towns and municipalities like that, so they've seen all these things, they've taken that all into account to be able to give a per unit price no matter what. So if they hit something bad in there, it's not gonna cost us any more on the installation. And they also provide, they're a little more thorough. They provide, if you look in the, I believe the second page after their quote, they have a form that they'll fill out, which includes they'll put the serial numbers of the old meter, the new meter down on every location, pictures before and after. They'll be inspecting, you know, the backflow preventers while they're in there. It's gonna be a more complete, thorough job that you're gonna get from them for the money there. And we believe it could be the best deal value-wise and, you know, quality-wise that you would get for the town, for all the water users on the system.
Okay. Well, I can tell you, when I asked you to go get some additional prices, I wasn't looking for not per hour price, because I think that opens up problems altogether. How do you estimate, know how many hours are gonna be used?
Yeah.
I would much prefer a flat rate per meter, as the other two have provided,
Right.
because quite frankly, it is in their best interest to do as many in one day as they can,
Absolutely.
with a flat rate per meter, so.
Are these telephone bids, Brad, or paper bids?
Those paper bids are all
They're
there.
all here, they're all here. So I wasn't saying that the $125 per house, which they
Right.
bid, was
Oh, I understand.
unreasonable, but I just wanted to make sure that we were doing our due diligence to
Yep.
see if somebody would do it for less.
Yep.
The other one is $220 a house, and then the third one, the $65 an hour, scares me, because they could end up taking 4 hours to do one meter, and you've spent a considerable amount of money. So, with this additional information, I make a motion that we go ahead and contract with New England Backflow to install the new meters at the rate of $125 per house.
Second.
Any discussion, questions? All in favor?
Aye.
All the meters have arrived too, they arrived last week, so.
Yeah, I saw that we signed the bill this afternoon, so. Okay. We have a request for abatement. This is on map 29, lot 1, sub B08. It was on a camper which was registered prior to April 1st, and there should not have been taxed. Results in a refund of $152. I make a motion we sign it.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. We have a copy of a check we received from DRA, from the railroad tax. I didn't know there was such a railroad tax, but we got $817.13. We have a purchase order, two things to act on. Back in, I think January, no, March, we approved a purchase order to purchase a new 2017 Chevrolet police cruiser for the police department. And what has happened since then is that Chevy police packages used to all be made at a factory in Texas. That factory was closed, and we were notified that it was going to be made at a factory in Canada. And that it was going to be shipped shortly. And it turns out the vehicle was actually produced in Australia and is someplace on a ship in a cargo container between Australia and the United States with an undetermined delivery date. I would presume from Australia it would probably ultimately land in California and then have to be transported across country to get here. Long story short, they don't know where the cruiser is, and they don't know when it's going to get here. The chief has found a police interceptor. It happens to be a Ford, which is available and can be delivered immediately. And I make a motion that we rescind our previous purchase order to buy the Chevrolet police cruiser.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. And I make a motion that we approve a purchase order to buy from Irwin Automotive Group in Laconia a 2017 Ford Police Interceptor at a price of $28,446. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. We have a raft of papers here that have been prepared, which appoint me as chairman of the board as the authorization to represent the town in a small claims action which the town is pursuing.
Actually, you're appointing me.
Oh, I'm sorry. We're appointing Ellen as our representative, so that she can appear and deal with this small claims action which is being taken on a gentleman named David Shea, and it's for $519 worth of bills for deposits at the recycling center that he chose not to pay for. I make a motion to sign.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Only once? Last week, we were presented with 3 agreements for us to sign on state projects coming up on Route 16. As instructed, the town administrator reached out to Victoria Chase, Department of Transportation. Basically saying the Board of Selectmen wanted me to reach out to you to question why the town needs to sign the municipal work zone agreements. It is a document they have not seen before, and since the state's traffic plan would supersede the towns on a state highway, why is there such an agreement? She sent back, well, we need it so that the agreement between the town and state is documented, agreeing that the state has the authority to construct the project within town limits. Hope this helps. Didn't help a bit. Doesn't make a lick of sense to me. It's a state road where they have every bit of the authority to do it. However, in the interest of generating more paper and cutting down more trees, I make a motion we sign these agreements to allow the state of New Hampshire to do work on their own property.
Second.
Any other discussion or anything you want to add to it? All in favor? Aye. Seems redundant and foolish to me, but that wouldn't be the only thing that the state does. And they need 3 copies in triplicate. There goes another tree. You gotta say Green Mountain Conservation on that.
Very good. That was good.
Always put on for Green Mountain.
Three copies in triplicate.
They didn't really copy.
And they wonder why I scribbled my signature. We have the Highway Department work log, which is here in the folder if anybody'd like to look at it. We have 3 notices from the state of New Hampshire. There's a program which the town has participated in for some time now called the Rhodes Scholar Program. And it's not Rhodes, R-H-O-D-E-S, it's Rhodes as in highway roads. And we've been notified that Billy Eldridge has achieved the level of Rhodes Scholar 2, and both Neil Eldridge and Sean Berry have attained the level of Rhodes Scholar 1. This is in recognition of the time and the classes and whatnot that they take. So congratulations. It's always good to get stuff to make us better at what we do. Can we make sure and get a letter out to them for us, please? We have a copy of a check. Now we're gonna have to have on this one. We received a check from the state for $43,200. Is this covered bridge?
Yes, yes.
For final, well, when was this bill submitted, do you know?
December?
No, I think that was a later one, actually.
Okay.
I think this was this spring.
Oh, it only took them
Yeah.
3 months to reimburse. Oh, they're getting better.
We're going on that bridge.
We got a letter from the Medication Bridge Coordinator at Huggins Hospital. It's an organization which the townspeople through town meeting have supported for several years. It's a medication bridge which helps low-income people who can't afford the medications obtain them. There's a fairly long letter here, but the Jack Drinkwater, the coordinator, has said because of their current situation and they actually have an excess of money in the fund, that they're not going to be asking for any money from the town this year. We have a letter from Charter Communications, a copy of the letter, which is going to be going out to all of our cable customers, that the fees on the broadcast TV surcharge are going from $6.05 to $7.50, and the Spectrum receivers are going to go from $3.99 to $4.99.
Thank God for Netflix.
We have a copy of the consent calendar from the Executive Council, which is here. Pretty dry reading, but the areas that affect our district are in fact in italics, so you can separate out what affects us and what doesn't. We have the payroll reimbursement request for the Water and Sewer Department in the amount of $3,345.80. I make a motion we sign it.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. We have a warrant for the tax collector to collect $28.47 in water and sewer charges. Make a motion we sign it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We have a warrant for the tax collector to collect $155.36 in water and sewer charges. I make a motion we sign it.
Second.
All in favor? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We have an abatement application. This is on water and sewer charges. This was after a final billing. After the final bill was processed and paid on this lot, we found that a step was not completed, which resulted in $28.47 in administrative charges. I make a motion we abate it. $28.47.
Second.
Any discussion?
No.
All in favor? Aye. This is the second one. This is, I should have given the map, map 87 lot 7 on that one. This is map 93 lot 4. And this is again on a property that was sold. After final billing was processed and paid, found a step that was not completed. This would result in a refund, an abatement, not a refund, of $18.42. I make a motion we approve it.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Another one, this is on map 224, lot 4. Again, on a property which was sold after final abatement. It was processed and paid. This will result in an abatement of $28.47. Make a motion to approve it.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Brad, you're gonna have to help me on this one. This is an abatement application. This is on map 86, lot 26, 18 Route 25 East. They're looking to abate $35.34. And the reason is that they have 2 meters. The first meter that the water flows through keeps track of the water. The second meter is used just to see how much water they use to water the lawn. They pay a base fee for both meters.
The way I understand that, when you both brought that to my attention after they kind of complained about it, they came in and requested the 2-meter installations be installed in the very beginning of that project over there. This is the Dollar General.
Okay. Is this to avoid the sewer charges on the water that they're using on the lawn?
There's no sewer charge there anyway, because they're not on sewer there. So, that's why he couldn't understand why they wanted 2 meters there to begin with, and he talked to them about it, and their general contractor or whoever was in charge of the project there said, no, we want to have the 2 meters there. They knew they weren't on town sewer over there, so there was no need for it for that reason. He was under the impression it was just so they could see how much water they're using for the sprinkler system for their landscaping and stuff, as opposed to the usage in the building. Was the only reason they wanted the 2 meters.
So where does the amount of $35.34 that they're requesting be abated, where does that come from?
I'm not sure if that's, I have to check it out, if that, sure that would be the quarterly fee for meter. There's a quarterly fee that every homeowner has for the meter in the house there. It includes, I believe it includes so many gallons of water with it. If they go above and beyond that, they pay so much per thousand. $5.89, I believe is what our rate is here. But they pay a flat rate for each meter, and usually every house has 1 meter, for the usage there. In this case, they requested to have 2 meters in there, so they get charged for the two meters, being a base charge in there, which is kind of the way it's all written.
Makes
It's the way
logical sense to me. You
Yeah.
want 2, you pay for 2.
Right, yeah.
Will you check into this and just make sure there's nothing we're missing?
Yeah.
Because my inclination is, I don't know what anybody else thinks, is they ask for 2 meters, they pay for 2 meters. I don't, unless there is some real compelling reason not to.
Yeah, we'll check it out. We can
Just-
react to that next week.
Okay. And the other one, which we had already acted on, we actually rejected it, was from map 224, lot 5, and it was, the way it was written, it says it's a winter bleed. His property is at the end of the line. He has to run the water so that this line doesn't freeze. This is done every year. It's now been brought to our attention that this is a system bleed that they use to bleed the water system and should not be borne by the property owner. Once that line is replaced, the issue will be resolved.
So up on Austin Mountain Road.
Doors Corner Road. If you would, before we reverse this, would you kind of check into that? Because it may well be that this is the only answer, but it seems not fair if it is a system bleed to run it through a property owner's meter and then expect them to pay it and then us to go at some point later down the road, give them their money back. That doesn't seem to me to be the way that should be handled.
Yeah, check into that. For some reason I think that's the one I'm thinking of. It's where it freezes is on their own property in the driveway area is what if I recall it being the correct one, but we can check into
Which,
it.
if that's the case, which is what I thought it was,
Right.
then I quite frankly believe that our original decision to reject their abatement was valid.
That's right.
The fact that somebody runs the water in order to not have their pipes freeze, I get it,
Right.
and I understand why they do that. But if everybody on the system did that, we'd be in a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
Especially if we weren't gonna bill for the water.
Yeah.
So, as much as I empathize, if it's to protect his own water line, then I think he owes the money
Right.
for this. What Ellen got back to us with, it sounded more like he was letting the water run for the benefit of the system. So if you can just clarify that, and then we'll
Yeah.
look at it afterwards. Old business, the water department rules and
We're working on
regulations. We're still working on it. Anything new on 28-171?
Nope, just get ready for that meeting on this 14th.
Okay. And we've dealt with the town hall electrical upgrades. Anything else in the old business? Paul? Alan? Okay. New business, Jeff Hayes, Lake Region Planning. Welcome.
Thank you. So I'm just here I think I was invited to the meeting. I'm following up on a planning board meeting I attended a few weeks back, and then I think there was a select board meeting where some information came up that might need some more explanation.
Well, the reason when it first came up, as you well know by now, or I hope you know by now, it was the planning board which had decided not to approve the dues to the Lake Region Planning Commission. That's an item that's been included in the planning board budget. Whether it should have been or shouldn't have been, that's a topic for another day, but it currently was. So in that regard, it was within their purview not to approve that expenditure.
Right.
So when you first offered to come, we thought it was most appropriate you go to them first and see if that
Absolutely.
made any
Yep.
effect, and then certainly invited you to come here and talk to us. I don't know if you had a presentation you want to do, or you just want to answer a couple of questions, or how you'd like to do it.
However, I have information I can provide you. You know, I can answer questions.
Yeah.
However, I mean, I think I was at the planning board for about an hour and a half,
Yeah.
talking to them.
And you were there.
whatever
I've had an
questions.
opportunity to watch it
I'm
on
happy
Government
to-
Oversight.
I'm happy to spend as much time as you'd like and discuss whatever you'd like
The,
to
the,
talk
the
about.
central confusion seems to come down to what does the town of Ossipee lose by not paying dues? There was some discussion about, and this involved Ed as well, whether or not, do we lose our seat at the table? Do we lose the ability to vote? Brad has been very active on the highway end of it. You know, what impact does that have?
Yep. Well, and I think there's a very clear answer to that, and I hope Ed, we talked about when the answer came out that Ed would come on screen and maybe help confirm the answer is true that I've been saying right along.
Okay.
That yes, you know, the fact is, nothing's for free in life, and basically LRPC's bylaws require that when you're not an active participating member and paying your dues, that you don't have a vote at the table. And that does include the Transportation Committee. Ed had talked about some information affecting MPOs where that may not be the case entirely. His town in Brookfield, he's able to go and serve as part of the policy committee, their transportation committee. But we're under slightly different, we're not an MPO. We're a regional planning commission, and we're not subject to those MPO rules. And it's very clear, I've checked it up and down, and it's very clear that that's the case. So the fact is that the town wouldn't have a seat at the table, wouldn't have a vote, could always come, they're all public, open to the public, so people can come to meetings, but it would be sort of like, does the public have something to say? And then, you know, the town of Ossipee would be able to say its piece. It wouldn't be part of the meeting, it would be a member of the public at that point, and would, you know, could always come, and it would always be open, they could always be heard, but it wouldn't be as a member of the group, it would be as a member of the public or outside the group. So that's true for the commission meetings, the transportation meetings. It's true for the household hazardous waste. I mean, we've had a great partnership with the town for almost 30 years on the household hazardous waste program.
Do we raise, while you're on that one, don't we raise a separate amount of money for the house, for the separate fee for the household hazardous?
For our share, yes, we do, but it's also supplemented with a grant through DES. And was there another funding source on that too,
We
Jeff?
currently have a grant through USDA, but that's the first time in 30 years that we've ever had that. So so you get a separate assessment for the household hazardous waste. And it's a group purchasing thing where we negotiate a contract for the region.
Yep.
It's about $90,000 for disposal costs with a hauler. And those costs are divided amongst the communities. And where our dues come in, and we don't, our staff time and organizing time and promotion time and all of that, staffing the event, although there's a lot of volunteers the day of, and town volunteers and Brad and others that are part of it, but there's a lot of planning that goes into it. That's where town dues are used. And there is also a grant through DES that's for regional collections. It's not available to individual collections, it's for regional collections. And we apply for those funds. And those funds, you know, they haven't covered, the last couple of years we've lost, you know, $25,000, $30,000 on the collections because we've actually gotten really great response and a lot of but even after sending out the amount for the towns to pay for the disposal costs and getting it's approximately 16,000. It's probably going to be less this year because there's more people applying for it and there's a set amount of state funds. Even after the state grant and the town disposal fees, there was a $25,000 or $30,000 loss to the program over the last couple of years. There have been years, I've been there for about 3 years. We've had a loss pretty much every year since I've been there. I think part of it, but there have been years where it hasn't, they haven't suffered a loss, but it depends on the year. I mean, I've done everything I could to try to encourage participation. It's all about, we take out, combined, I think it's something like 30 tons of household hazardous waste, that just a small amount of that put in a lake or a water body or something can do an awful lot of damage. And so it's all about trying to get as much of that hazardous waste out of
How many towns do you represent, Lake Region Planning?
So we have the Lakes Region Plan, the state is broken up into 9 planning regions, and the Lakes Region is 30 towns.
Okay. And how many of the 30 towns are dues paying members of the committee?
Up until this year, it's been 30 out of 30. The town of Alton has chosen not to pay their dues this year.
Okay.
We have high hopes that we're going to bring them back on board next year. There's a lot of support in the community, and it was sort of split down the middle on the select board about it.
Ed, can you help with this? At what, or maybe you already know at what point do you go from being a regional planning commission to an MPO? What's the deciding factor in that?
Population.
And what is the population that makes it an MPO versus?
I believe it's over 50,000.
Yeah, 50,000 of.
And at what point is the Lakes region in that population? I mean, I guess what I'm saying to you is,
I don't know if
is that
population's
something
a-
that's going to change?
I don't see it changing anytime soon. The Concord area right now is not an MPO. They're applying, they're hoping to become an MPO in the next few years, but
Okay.
they're just sort of on the cusp of it. There's a lot of rural towns around Concord, but Concord's obviously, that region is not an MPO now.
So in other words, Lake region's going to be a while if Concord can't.
I would imagine the Lakes region, we're unfortunately in one of the, oldest, slowest growing counties between Belknap and Carroll County in the country right now. So I don't see those trends changing very rapidly right now.
Bob, do you have any questions?
I did. So looking at your pie chart here, your labor, travel, and benefits overhead are 80% of your budget.
Yeah, there's not much else in the budget besides labor I think household hazardous waste is
Labor's
the other piece.
49, benefits and overhead are 30%, and travel's 1%. And contracted services are what? These
I
are
think that-
expenditures that I'm talking about.
Yeah, I'm looking at the chart you have here, and there are some revised charts because there was some concern at the last meeting, I think, where benefits and overhead were thrown in together, where we're combined together on the charts, and I wanted to break out benefits
them
from
broken.
overhead. Do you have the new one,
Yes.
the new chart?
Labor's 49%, benefits are 30%, travel's 1%. Household hazardous waste expenditures 14%.
But it does break up overhead from benefits, but you're not asking about that. But I do have that information if you're interested.
So you're
So benefits are about 13%.
So you get state revenue of 44%, you get federal revenue of 9%, you get local contracts, which are what, 18%?
They can be, we're doing a lot of culvert inventories, a lot of road management system with T-squared and UNH, DOT on that. We do master plans, we do capital improvement plans,
Okay.
all sorts of different things we work with communities on.
So you're doing state, you're doing federal, and you're doing local.
Yep,
That's,
yeah, we get
We
some
get
private
three
foundation money, but not that much.
I mean, it just seems like you're hitting the taxpayer here 3 times.
Well, we are a governmental entity.
Right.
We are a creator. RSA 36 is the enabling legislation that say that towns can voluntarily create a regional planning commission. So we are a creature of local government.
Right, so we can't play unless we pay.
Our bylaws, which is an agreement among 30 communities, say yes, that non-participating, non-dues paying members do not have a vote at the table.
I have a huge problem with these numbers.
No, the fact, and I know you do, but the fact that it's predominantly labor, if somebody put the town's budget in that pie chart, I'll guarantee you it's predominantly labor.
One source.
No, but what I'm saying, as far as the percentage of what they do being predominantly labor, that doesn't, what I'm saying is that doesn't surprise me.
I get that, I get all that, but when I look at these numbers too, I just have a problem with the way this is put out, the way it's divided out. Right, I had my say.
Yeah. My concern in this matter is that I don't think we're gonna solve today, nor was solved the other night at the planning board. The larger debate, which is whether or not what we get is the best bang for our buck, whether or not we should be a part of it or shouldn't be a part of it, is a discussion I quite frankly don't think should be knee-jerk. We have called on Lake Region Planning Commission several times in this last year to help us with road safety audits in our effort to lobby the state of New Hampshire to do work on intersections which you and I and everybody else in this room and everybody on that camera drive through every day. They have been a part of the planning process for the improvements which are in place or in progress for our most deadly place, which is 28-171. They've been a part of that. You know, do I like the way it was set up? I'll be honest with you. I'm a definite small government guy. I think that the bureaucracy sometimes take on a life of their own, and I think that sometimes the smaller towns maybe don't get the attention that the larger towns do, and I think that's probably part of what you're getting from
I think it is.
from a bike back.
Well,
I think that a once-a-year newsletter updating us on what you do probably isn't enough. Now, part of that may well be our own fault, that we haven't sought out from our representatives to get some sort of a report back on what is being done and when. This all being said, again, I think the debate can continue, but I am concerned about losing our seat at the table, in particular, with Brad's involvement with the TAC committee, and all of the projects which we are right now trying to influence these different projects as it relates to traffic, in particular on state roads.
And I agree with you there, and I think this should fall under the select.
Then, well, and I'm gonna make this very simple. Currently, and I believe that the planning board was well within their purview to do this, it was in their budget, but I'm going to make a motion that we, the Board of Selectmen, out of our budget, pay the dues to the Lake Region Planning Commission, and we will continue this discussion going forward, and maybe improve the lines of communication so that we are not standing here doing this a year from now.
I think that makes a lot of sense. I
That-
think,
If you want, just 1 minute, that is a motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
No.
All in favor? Aye.
Thank you,
And
sir.
I did.
going forward?
I said no.
Okay, I'm sorry.
That's-
2 yes, 1 no. Motion carries. And we'll try to continue that discussion later on. Mr. Gillette?
If I could add a little perspective, thank you for that decision, and I fully agree with it. I know some of my colleagues do on the planning board. When we took a vote on whether to pay the dues, the question we put to ourselves was not what do we lose if we don't, but what do we gain by paying our dues? And I'm afraid we had almost no information, or certainly incomplete information, as to how the town itself, as opposed to the planning board, benefits from participation in the Lakes Region Planning Commission. So that vote was taken on the basis of less than complete information. Jeff Hayes then spent, as he said, an hour and a half talking to us. I think some minds may have been changed, I don't know, but possibly. We haven't addressed the question since then. From my own perspective as a planning board member, and obviously I can't speak for my colleagues, but I speak for myself, the town is substantially overdue in updating its master plan, which the state requires us to do periodically, but periodically is every 5 to 7 years. We're 10 years in running. I can't imagine doing a credible and useful update of our master plan, and I emphasize those 2 words, and readable, without drawing on the information the Lakes Region Planning Commission collects without their help, pointing us to other information we need, and providing some perhaps expert guidance on how to put the whole thing together. Secondly, it's worth noting that Ossipee is one of the few towns in this area, in the Lakes Region Planning area, that does not have a capital improvement plan. Now, there's no requirement that we do have such a plan, but it's generally recognized as a useful financial planning tool. However, if the time ever comes, and I hope it does someday, that a major developer wants to come to town, build a shopping center or some such thing, that imposes impacts, costs on town infrastructure, water and sewer, police, fire, having that capital improvement plan in hand gives the town the most solid legal and financial basis for assessing some of that cost, those impact costs, to the developer. We're on pretty thin ice if we try to do that without that plan in hand. Now, we tried to do it with the great help from Lakes Region Planning Commission about 5 years ago. One of our 3 fire departments declined to cooperate. The issue, the whole effort came to naught, and that's where it has lain. I'm certain that fire precinct would cooperate now if we started over again, and I hope we do before too long. So I think there's much that we can gain from Lakes Region Planning Commission. We just haven't asked them. And one of the reasons I volunteered to be a commissioner was to improve the communication.
Respectfully disagree with a couple of quick points, but
Yep.
I don't want to beat a dead horse, because I think we've got where we needed to be.
Yep.
My concern was purely, at this juncture, mainly over the issue of roads, which is an area which we're involved with and have been involved with continuously over the last several months, some of us for years and years and years. With respect, just as a side note, on the capital improvement plan is something which we are currently working on and have been working on, and I've always believed was an issue that needs to be addressed and updated on a more timely basis than the master plan will ever do. That being said, it's nothing that couldn't be incorporated as part of the master plan at some point down the road. But my concern is that I don't want to lose our seat at the table. There are some serious and substantial upcoming state projects on state roads which affect every single one of us every day that I want the ability to have a say on and some impact on, and that alone, I believe, justifies us going forward.
Right.
The hazardous waste collection, which we have been a part of for a good many years, occurs every year in our parking lot here. We are the host of it for us and several other towns around us, and I mean, this isn't rocket science. You know, that stuff that's collected is much better off collected and disposed of properly than it is to end up in a landfill. So, that being said, thank you for your time. Appreciate you coming. And
I just want to point out that we have economic development services too that the planning board was surprised to hear about. I have a lot of experience in that area. There's a lot of opportunity that I think the town can take advantage of there, and I'd be glad to talk to you more about that sometime.
well, I actually would love you, and we actually have formed our own, a new economic development committee, which is very, which is active. Even though we had one for years and years, it was not very active, and we do have an active group right now, so they may well want to take advantage of some of the information or material that you have.
There's also brownfield. If there's any properties in town that are abandoned, they're not being used, or are off tax rolls, this is a program to help put those back on the tax rolls.
Okay?
So I hope we can, I'd love to get you to participate more in that. And I won't bore you with other things, but I do appreciate your time and consideration. And there's one other thing.
So don't get rid of that tail. You still want our seat at the table.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. I mean, I don't know what we'd do without Brad. He's a major part of the transportation committee. He's the vice chair. He's a major leader there. So it would be a double whammy
Well, that was
to
my
lose you.
point in bringing it here.
I appreciate that. One other thing that we're working on that I think is going to really save the town a lot of money too is, just like on the household hazardous waste, we do the regional purchasing, we negotiate a hauler contract. Well, we're doing that with electricity now. We're looking into doing that with electricity. And just based on the preliminary numbers that I've looked at from the town, is you use about 300,000 kilowatts of electricity. And we think we can, based on other bids, we think we can get it about 5 cents cheaper than that, which adds up to around $10,000.
Yep.
Which I can't sit here and promise you that we're gonna provide that kind of savings, but just based on preliminary look at it and some estimates, it could be somewhere in that range. It might be half that,
Yeah.
but even half that would more than pay for your dues. And we're looking to do more of those regional purchase opportunities, because I do understand that people need to see value, they need to see payback, and, you know, having a regional organization, people thinking regionally is one thing, but, you know, your pocketbook is another thing. I do understand that.
We were aware of the electrical issue, and Ellen has already been working with your
Yes,
office
yeah,
on
I
providing that
appreciate it.
information, and
Yeah.
so, yes, we're aware of it, and we were already participating in that part of it. So,
Right, no.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I appreciate your time.
Okay, second public input. Yes, sir.
I want to get back to my neighbor very quickly. You say her permit was out July 31st. Yep. Doesn't she have till midnight July 31st?
Technically speaking, yes.
Okay, I wouldn't really want to do anything till August 1st.
That's probably when,
I'm not saying you're dumb, I'm just making a suggestion, right?
I will only assure you that this is stuff that we have handled in the past. We are not going down there at 11:59 on the 31st to enforce the order, okay?
I'm planning on a dog park, I don't want
Okay?
Now, if she's gone, okay? Who's gonna clean up the mess?
That is a separate issue. He did do an inspection, and some of, I'd have to go back to that thing. It's an issue which is going to have to be addressed. First things first, we get her out of the camper and into the trailer, if its utilities are hooked up, and then we'll address anything else that's there.
Me and my neighbors, we're getting pretty concerned about it. Well, my his stuff will taste fun. We'll have it tested tomorrow.
Well, if my water tasted funny, I think I'd have it tested, but that, no, I don't want to tell you what to do,
Oh,
okay?
you know, we pretty much know.
All right. Anything else?
Yes, one more thing. How can I find out if Stoneview Road is publicly accessible, has public access?
Stoneview Road is a private road, owned entirely by the people who live in there. The way most of those developments are set up is if there's 40 lots, then you all own 1/40th of the road. But it is not a town road, it is a private road owned by the developer.
Now it's only 36 lots.
Well, then there's 36, then you own 1/36 of it. Okay?
I've been informed it's only private, it's gated.
It's only private what?
It's gated. It's
No.
a gate. All right, okay. All right. Just want the answer from the top. I want the right answer.
That's fine. Anybody else, anything else? Ed, any updates? I'm good for now. Okay.
Thank you, Ed.
Anything else? Oh, we did get this. Sorry, Brad.
Those are the groundwater permit renewal applications for the transfer station. There's 4 copies there that need to be signed, then they need to get signed in front of Kelly with her accepting them, and she signs off on them too. Then they get distributed to, you know, DES. One stays with Kelly, one goes back to Stan Tech, and one stays with us here. I didn't know if it was easier for you guys to authorize me to sign those.
It certainly would be.
Okay, that's gonna be my suggestion anyway.
I make a motion that Brad Harriman be allowed to sign the renewal of the Ossipee landfill groundwater management permit applications on behalf of us.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And
Thank
I
you,
also
sir.
asked that you guys had asked me before if there's ever gonna be an end to this. And you believe this is a 5-year permit, and Stan Tech leaves at the end of that 5-year. We should be authorized to ask them to have it expire at that time and not proceed any further with them, so.
It
because
seems to
everything's-
me, I mean, it's gotta be 25 years.
We're pushing it, I'm sure, yeah.
So, I mean, and the wells have tested clean for 25 years.
That's it. As long as there's no abnormalities there, they should create that wish there, so.
Okay. Anything else? Ellen?
No.
Any meetings coming up?
August 14th at 6 o'clock, New Hampshire DOT is presenting on the intersection improvements of 171 and 28.
Okay.
It's also part
That should be a very important meeting for those who are interested. August 14th, the time,
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock here. It's a meeting regarding the 16 and 28 intersection, one that we have talked about and worked on incessantly. And it's on their proposal to install a roundabout in that intersection to hopefully make it so we can stop killing people.
Is that 171?
Is that 171?
I'm sorry, 171 and 28. Did I say, I don't know what I
Yeah, you
said.
said 16.
Sorry about that. 171 and 28, the intersection where we've had so many serious accidents and fatalities. So that is a pretty bold plan, but it's one that we are convinced will, in fact, stop the accidents, or slow them down. So it's an important meeting for those who are interested to come, hear what the state has to say, give you 2 cents worth. That's why those meetings are held. So
Is this the state's proposal or the town's?
it is the state's proposal. The town, I have to rewrite it, but initially, the town wanted them to put in lights. The intersection does not have the traffic numbers to meet their light requirement. So they came back with a plan which was actually supposed to already be built on installing a turn lane and helping with some sight distance issues down there, and everybody agrees that what they were proposing was not going to fix the problem, which is the cross traffic coming 171 onto 28. So after we literally had another double fatal in the intersection, we were successful in, with Ed's help, our other representatives and our state senator, with getting them to reopen it, take a better, harder look at it, and that's what is coming out of that is the proposal for a roundabout. So, if there is nothing else, I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you all. Brad, I'm gonna give these right back to you.